So hey guys, today we're going to be talking about back and forth Yu-Gi-Oh! And I'm just going to simply ask the question of, is back and forth Yu-Gi-Oh! Even possible? Well, I mean, I think technically yes, but if we look at the game kind of like historically, so we'll take a quick look at like modern and also GOAT, right? So if we go back to around GOAT format, typical GOAT duel goes like this, right? We're going to normal summon a guy, set some cards in the back row, and then your opponent is going to, well, it kind of depends, but they can hit you with a blowout card. So think something like Raigeki, Mirror Force, all of that. And combos kind of still existed in the game, but a little bit different, right? So I think the best boss monster of GOAT format is going to have to probably be let's see, what was his name again? Chaos something. Literally can't even remember the name. My brain's like super fried right now. Not Chaos Sorcerer, but that's played as well. What was the guy's name? He's not showing up here. Does he not have Chaos in his name? Okay. I'm pretty sure he's like a Buster Blader card or something. Right? Oh, no, wait, no, he's not. Luster Soldier or something. Right? Yeah. Something like this, right? Blackluster, Soldier, Envoy of the Beginning. This guy. So, yeah, I mean, combos basically existed, but they just took some time. So, you know, you like normal the guy, and then you would pass after you set a card, I guess. And then you would normal another guy. Maybe attack. Set. Pass. But, yeah. Combos were just essentially sped up more in modern. And it just happened kind of over time, I guess. So, if we were to look at Malice, the equivalent of this in Go would be a deck that did something like you normal summon a Dormouse equivalent, you banish a card, and then it'll come back next standby phase. And that was, I'm pretty sure at some point, like a Psychic deck or something. And that's kind of how it worked. I mean, I don't think it was exactly Go, but around there, you know? Bash one guy, he'll come back later, and then maybe you can bash another guy next turn. And then eventually you'll be able to make a synchro monster. But in the case of like Malice, you know, you just go in like bash guy, bash guy, other guy bash guy, make guy, you know? You're skipping the part where you're passing turn, essentially. But to fill the gaps here, like technically to stop the combo, you can beat over your opponent's guy. You can drop like a Raigeki or maybe a Duster to remove back row, in case it's like a back row centric strategy, right? Same kind of idea here. We have ideas of, instead of those blowout cards, we just drop Lancia instead of a Raigeki. Because, you know, we currently do not have the priority to just drop Raigeki on our opponent mid-combo, except that one deck that does that, I think. I think there actually is one deck that can just kind of drop a Raigeki on your opponent. Well, I mean, there might be more than one. Well, I can think of a quick combo that could do it in Modern. So, I can't even remember the name of this monster because absolutely no one plays it. It was like, it's a UR2, so it's like horrible. So it's like, name something like Mirador. Oh, damn, got the name right. Heavenly Zephyr Mirador. So technically, I guess you could special summon this on your opponent's turn, and then you could kind of like chain Sheena later in the turn to do like a Ghetto Raigeki on your opponent's turn, you know, like turn 0 Raigeki, woo. That combo sounds terrible, but yeah, I mean, technically, you could do that, I suppose. So, yeah, something like that would, in theory, work, I guess. Well, actually, there's one more that could work, but yeah, not focusing on that too much right now. basic idea is opponent do thing, you don't want to let them do the thing, because if you let them do the thing, they'll just win the game on the spot, right? So in the case of Blackluster Soldier Envoy of the beginning, they would probably remove your back row, and then they just drop this, and then they clear. And your back row doesn't interact with back row removal usually, so all your back row's gone, so you have nothing to defend you in that way. And then this guy, just it's for like around 6k, and you usually would have gone chipped a few times during the course of a duel, so you're usually within lethal range after that kind of maneuver. And now the question is, of course, well, you have to think of like, okay, but what if your opponent, in this case, they didn't have Duster, right? They didn't have Duster, then there was nothing they could have done. And their Blackluster Soldier Envoy at the end is just going to, or Envoy at the beginning is going to die to your like back row, whatever it is. Like it could be Torrential, Mirror Force, Raigeki, Break, Book of Moon. All those could potentially kind of beat this card somewhat, right? Or stop lethal, and then you and Raigeki on the next turn. In case of something like, I don't know, Book of Moon, right? You even have the top, an opportunity to top deck Raigeki if you did not have it before. So yeah, that's kind of a thing, right? And in those cases, you know, that's kind of the equivalent of, I would argue, like Called by the Grave and Crossout Designator. So we can arguably say some of these like staples, they just function the same, but they're just faster almost, right? So Torrential, Ash Blossom, same deal really, right? If we're thinking in terms of like Go in Modern and just considering like playstyle, I'd argue that Ash Blossom is functioning almost like a modern Raigeki. You know, just stopping combos. You know, I guess they are called hand traps, kind of for a reason, right? But whoever coined that term must be a genius. Well, oh, okay. So if we look at the modern game now, I mean, it's not going to be too much different to an extent. I mean, the combos, that they're not exactly the same, and also they're faster and more consistent. But at the core, basic concept, your opponent is trying to do thing. If you let them do thing, you'll probably lose whatever their thing is, right? And if you were to do your thing, your opponent loses. So you need the card that stops them from doing the thing. So in this case, you know, that card could be a multitude of cards. You know, that could be Drone Lockbird, that could be Torrential Tribute. Like if we're flipping back between like Modern and Goat, like Ash Blossom Joy Spring, Raigeki, having evenly matched, having Mirror Force, Gores, whatever, right? You basically kind of need the out. So even in theory, if players just had turns, right, but which is kind of not a thing in Modern almost, you know, where, you know, it's more so one person's turn than the other, and that person is definitely the going first player. So in those cases, I mean, like, is that really that different from Goat? So if you have a really advantageous position, you just have usually so much material that, well, your opponent can't overcome your resources because you just out-resource them. And it's just a lot more fast-paced. It's not the same thing in Modern. That's kind of the base concept of, I guess, why combos are so kind of disgusting, right? So let's say you do Raigeki, the Blackluster Soldier, Envoy of the beginning, right? And then your opponent just Monster Reborns this hooligan, like, okay, I had to use one of my very few limited removal spells or whatever to remove this guy. But he just came back, just ready to end the game again. And I need to drop something to kind of clear this guy. After this guy is summoned like one time, this actually kind of becomes a problem. technically, if you had like a Solemn though, instead of maybe like a Book of Moon or Mirror Force, then you would have prevented Monster Reborn or Call of the Haunted on Void at the beginning, right? So, I mean, technically you are activating cards, but the odds of seeing the cards you need, that's still like genuinely a problem. So, for example, if we look at Mitsurugi right now, I think this is like prime example. Uh, you know, it seems like they don't do that much, but we're passing on maybe like if we're talking pure Mitsu, it's like 2, 3 guys on field, like small guys. And then you have like Futsu plus Murakumo and Omni Negate 1, Omni Negate 2. This brings everything back, Raigeki effect on this guy as well. Wait, I think you can summon this on your opponent's turn with the Megalithe cards. But tangent aside, yeah, I mean, if you don't draw a Drone Lockbird, you just lose because they have everything kind of set up, right? If you have Ash Blossom, that's not going to be enough because consistency reasons, if you're playing pure Mitsu, we can expect to see like 3 Ritual, 3 Prayers. Saji, I don't know about Saji actually. I mean, I'm feeling iffy on that. Maybe 1 or 2 Saji. Varies, right? Maybe we have Mitsurugi Mirror, we have Pre-Prep. So what are the odds that ashing just Habakiri or ashing Saji is actually enough to stop combo? Because your opponent could still like Ritual, just directly already opened Ritual, and then they just continue the combo from there. We have Prayers to then still kind of search Ritual. It kind of just gets there, which is kind of disgusting in some cases. Just Prayers get there. How does the search Ritual? Oh, Tribute Habakiri. Yeah, it gets there. I'm pretty sure, right? Tributes Habakiri. Grabs. I guess it would be like. Wait, it would be Mitsurugi Ritual. Wait. How would this combo line work? Habakiri effect. Solve. Special Summon Saji. Ash on Saji effect. Attempting to add Ritual. Prayers. Tributes. Habakiri. Probably Habakiri searches a card. This searches a monster, and that monster can be a ritual monster. Okay, that's how I see it now. So yeah. If you don't have, maybe it could be like for Goat against, I guess, like Envoy of the End or Chaos Sorcerer. What was this guy's name? I can't remember the guy's name, but he's like an exorcist or something. He banishes cards from the graveyard. Also, your opponent cannot like banish cards from the graveyard or something. What was his name? Like Kaiku or something? The monk guy, whatever his name is. I can't figure it out. But yeah. Whatever his face is, if you didn't draw him, then there's just nothing you could have done about Envoy at the beginning to an extent, right? You have to kind of be playing outs to what your opponent has in your deck. And partially because of that, right? The going first player, technically they have so many different strategies available to them. So if you did not know what your opponent was on beforehand, if you had Drone Lockbird for something like maybe Mitsu, well, it's relatively useless against like K9. Pretty terrible, actually. So the only starter that Droll negatively affects, I think, is mostly a case for K9. And yep, that's it, right? So that'd be like a case for K9 adding Noroi. And then normal summon Noroi does not much. You make a single rank 5 and pass. But aside from that, normal summon Noroi, and then you go into Ripper. We have special summon Jokel, and then that goes into Ripper, And those combos, there's absolutely nothing you can do with Droll here. If you attempt to Droll, you just watch your opponent detach 1 material, and they still have another, so they still have the effect for next turn as well. So that's just in general not great. So is there a possible back and forth in Yu-Gi-Oh? I mean, kinda, yeah, right? But at the same time, like, even if you did have Joel in your deck versus Mizu, right? So assuming Joel was at 3, which it's not, it's at 2. So the odds of drawing Joel currently, 20%. If it were at 3, 30%. So am I just not supposed to play the game 60, 70% of the time? Because I didn't draw the card I needed for the exact situation. I think that's kind of the problem we're having, where we can't have back and forth. And then there's also the issue of like, if we had something more back and forth, the decks aren't really designed for it. So we would have to kind of like power creep all the old cards and then have the new cards actually playable. So one thing I particularly like about Yummy, like I don't really like Dark type as a whole because of how generic it is, but aside from that, like this plays really well into certain types of interruptions, notably mostly hand traps, right? So we have the idea of like if I want to play around Joel and Lockbird, I can actually just do my big search with Cupsy Yummy Way. And technically you can use this on your own turn, right? As well. So I could go Yummy Snatchy, Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2, Yummy Surprise, targeting in my graveyard Cupsy Yummy, which might have been my starter. And then we can resolve Cupsy Yummy effect to search, and then Cupsy Yummy Way effect to search as well at the same time to play around Droll a little bit. And then technically I can just skip this till later and just do this draw first, or not draw, do this search first, and then this search later, which is also just something you can do, right? And if your opponent drops an interruption on you, you can still kind of do things with the kind of floating effect here, where you tag out into the guys in your graveyard, which is pretty cool. But then you have to consider, like, if your opponent genuinely does nothing, you just do the combos for regularly, you know, it's just normal combo. Nothing really changes in that regard. So pretty cool design there. You know, like the deck is able to play through some interruption, right? But there's also the aspect that the end board isn't stronger because of it. It's not like purely because they're completely broken. Like every single card is mathemax circular, right? Where you're sending a guy for cost and that guy can special summon, and also the guy that sent the guy can special summon itself. And then technically when you special summon that guy is going to trigger circular, which allows you to search like another card, which allows you to bring back another guy, which allows you to bring back another guy. And technically because you reborn that guy as well, that allows you to make Splash Mage, which can reborn another guy, and you just link climb in a really stupid way like that. And then technically, even if you have like a way to deal with the circular, that was just the circular, bro. I still have 4 more cards in hand, you know? And technically, you know, just like go through some things, you know, like circular effects, send, normal summon circular in case you like Dominus Impulse my circular, right? And then Sigma effect special summon, Ash on circular to search, right? And then we can go into still some sort of extra deck monster. We can go into Link 2, we can go into rank 4. Either one's like moderately fine, right? And that starts off of single card in hand. So if we technically had, you know, let's say 3 mathemax circulars in hand, that would take like 6 generic effects to shut down or something dumb. Actually, no, that wouldn't even work because technically those guys are bodies, and then you just go into generic links again. So that might actually even take 8 or more just generic kind of hand traps and effects like imprims, ashes, spells to stop this ridiculous combo. It's actually disgusting, right? So yeah, I mean, back and forth, I think it's technically possible, but do we have it? No, not in the slightest. For some inexplicable reason, I'll just say, you know, well, let's look at it this way. Turn 1, just going first, was so insanely powerful. It's just absolutely nothing you can do about it, right? Then they buff going second. Like, there are a few ways they could kind of do that. So Tenpai wasn't really buffing going second, honestly. But yeah, I mean, if you make going second better, going first just becomes terrible. Why would you go first? So that extreme example, kind of Tenpai, right? And if we really want to get into the weeds of it, actually, I'm going to straight up say there is not a single good archetype for going second. Like every single archetype, garbanzo beans, you know, just absolutely got nothing. So Tenpai, right? Tenpai actually has no going second ability by itself, pretty much. You have exactly Sangan summoning, and this is pretty much the best card you have in Pure Tenpai, and it's worth looking at archetypes at Pure, right? So with your ability to go second, what are you going to do here? Let's see. You must open Sangan summoning, which is just, you know, there are three copies of this in your deck. So you better open it. If you open Pydra, that's never going to resolve, man. Yeah, that's not going to happen. So if you're not backed with like droplets and such, I mean, yeah, everything here very susceptible to interruption. You have like some extenders, I guess, to try to do things, but board breaking tools, zero, absolutely nothing here. This is arguably worse than like Ryziel because like Ext is just kind of insane. Your only kind of board breaker thing is just going into Sangan summoning and hoping your opponent cannot remove your Sangan summoning, and just hoping for the best, really. So if we go to p.u.n.k next, in archetype, what do I have to break board with? Arabesque. And that's it. Arabesque alone. Okay, great. Numron, what method do you have to break board? Even less. Absolutely none of these cards actually help you break boards. So yeah, nothing. You can try like beating over your opponent's monsters, I guess. That's about all you can do with Numron and kind of Tenpai also. I mean, technically you can go into like Kubel, or however you spell that guy. Is it like Quibel? Yeah, okay. So you can go into this guy, pop one card that your opponent has, keeping in mind that if we did literally just, you know, there's just a billion combos out there, you know, so normal summon a D Lotus that goes into 9 interruptions. So yeah, I mean, to shut down like all of your known archetypal kind of like interruptions or board breaking potential, that would require like 2 interruptions out of the 9 that they set up. And you know, you also technically have to open said cards to kind of, you know, be able to do anything, I guess. So like with p.u.n.k, you technically open Ohime as well, and Ohime searches Arabesque, and you can hard open Arabesque, but you know, that's literally 1 interruption. I mean, if we're feeling especially generous, we could count Mayo Washidori here as kind of a removal requiring your p.u.n.k monster to battle. Yeah, that's definitely going to happen, right? Surely nothing could go wrong. But yeah, in terms of just like going second, that's probably the biggest issue right now, where there's not like a really good way for going second to be kind of healthy, and not just like being healthy, but also like, you know, like if going second too strong, going first becomes weak. If going first is too strong, going second is going to be weak. And you know, it's pretty clear with the card design that going first is just being favored really hard right now in the card design as well. I mean, hopefully that changes soon, but you know, what are you gonna do about it if it doesn't anyways? So yeah, that's all I got for you guys today, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.